Hey guys, welcome back to Wentworth Life. I hope you're all doing really well out there. Today I am back with my Wentworth Season 3 reviews, and we are currently up to Wentworth Season 3 Episode 5 titled Mercy. But before I jump into the video, if this is your first time here, then please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as it really helps us out on the channel. Okay, so episode 5. This is the episode where Fletcher returns to work after his accident. At first he doesn't seem keen coming back to work, that is until when Vera chats with him at home late one evening, and Fletcher gets really emotional because when you think about it, how awful is it not being able to remember things and having to relearn how to walk and talk all over again? It's horrible. Fletcher does point out to Vera that Ferguson doesn't want him there, not because he remembers anything of what happened, he just has that kind of vibe coming from her. But Vera assures Fletcher that it will all be okay. Joan does want him back, and when he does come back, he will be on more light duties just to see how he goes. Jody goes through a very tough time in this episode. So, in the last episode, Jody admitted to Bea and Maxine that she did shiv her, but the freak made her do it. Now, in this episode, Bea wants to know the full story. She wants Jody to report it and everything, but Jody doesn't seem to want to do it because she's just terrified of what Joan did to her in the slot. So Bea instructs the kitchen women not to let Jody eat any food. Yes, Bea is indeed starving Jody until Jody agrees to Bea's terms. Now, this might seem very tough on Jody, seeing as she is already in a bit of an emotional mess, but Bea does assure Jody that she will be protected. Not only that, but if you think about it, the fact that Jody is refusing to follow the top dog's orders is probably another reason as to why Bea is doing this, because Bea, she does have to show her strength to the rest of the women, and if one of them disobeys Bea and Bea lets them get away with it, then it does set a precedent. Bea manages to finally team up with Frankie, which I just love. I can remember when we were all waiting for season 3 to begin. I can remember talking with other Wentworth fans, with predictions, saying that I really hope that Bea and Frankie team up, and I suppose they are a much bigger force together than against each other. This is actually coming off the back of something that Liz said to Frankie way back in season 1. So Bea and Frankie work together to try and get Jody to agree to the terms, and this goes on for most of the episode. Jody is allowed nothing but water until she agrees. Eventually, Jody does agree and she tells Bea and Frankie what Joan did to her. It turns out that the second night of Jody being in the slot, Joan came into her cell and pushed a pillow down onto Jody's face while she was sleeping with all of her force. Joan then took Jody to a room and forced Jody to say things out loud, things like that she was worthless, pointless, and that she was nothing. Joan would then force Jody to scratch her own arms until they bled, and then Joan would pour methyl onto, her open cut arms. This is proper mental and physical torture here. There is actually a moment where Jody says that Joan made her do something, but she doesn't actually say what it was. She can't seem to get the words out. We just see the horror in Jody's face. Now, I don't know what this was implying, but when I first watched it, the story that came to my mind is that maybe Joan had forced Jody to do sexual things with her. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but that's the vibe that I was leaning on to. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments box below. Kaz Proctor arrives at Wentworth with a visit to see Bea Smith. Now, Fletcher is on the desk checking all of the visitors into the prison, and this is where we see some of the struggles that he is going through while being back at work. Now, when Kaz ends up meeting Bea, things don't really go to plan. Kaz tells B that she has inspired them and a lot of other women in the world, and B ends up telling Kaz to stop what she is doing. And Kaz doesn't take this very well. When B goes to walk off, Kaz grabs B's hand, and a very, minor small scuffle breaks out between them both, and Fletcher then intervenes. And this is when Kaz has a go at Fletcher, saying, "What have you done to her?" implying that B is being forced to say these things. All I can remember when I first saw this, I was thinking, wow, this Kaz is completely off her head. Now, B ends up going to Will and tells him that she thinks that it was Kaz Proctor and the Red Right Hand who killed Harry. Now, of course, Will is the prime suspect, so he ends up getting Kaz's address from the visitor's book, and he goes to her house to confront her, and I absolutely love this scene. Apart from the fact that Will is looking smoking hot, we just see how much of a loose cannon that Kaz really is, because she ends up swinging a baseball bat at Will, and Will ends up grabbing the bat off her and he throws it into the garden. And as Will is walking away, Kaz just basically is walking behind him, and she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" I love it. Later on, there is a news report on Harry Smith's murder, and Will is brought up on the report. Will then ends up receiving a phone call from Kaz where Kaz says, "I know who you are now." And I was like, ooh, this is getting so juicy and so good. Now remember guys, we didn't know who had actually killed Harry Smith at this stage when first watching. And I think I was thinking that maybe it was the Red Right Hand who must have killed Harry, because it would have made sense at the time. Back over to Fletcher now, and there is a scene where he ends up seeing Jess Warner alone in her unit for the very first time. And when Fletcher does up his shoelace, Jess comes over and she's like asking him how he is, and then Jess ends up saying to Fletcher that she misses him being inside her. Oh god, why? Fletcher is like totally confused at what she's on about, and he ends up having like this weird flashback moment of the missing swipe card from season 2, and he ends up losing his cool with Jess and pins her up against the wall until Vera intervenes. And this is when Vera ends up telling him about what happened, when he did lose his swipe cards. Talking of Vera, Vera isn't feeling very well. She seems to have this nasty cough that she cannot shake off, and she's looking a little bit rough. By the end of the episode, Vera ends up getting some test results back. She has caught hepatitis C. So remember when Vera was taken hostage with the needle incident? Yes, Vera did catch it, and there is a scene at the end of the episode where Vera goes to visit Fletcher at home, and the pair of them, they end up bonding quite emotionally. And even though Vera has just had some shitty news, it's nice, really really nice to see Vera and Fletcher having these little tender moments together. There's still no love lost between Frankie and Liz in this episode, especially during a group therapy session where Liz tries to, throw Frankie under the bus when she implies in front of everyone that Frankie has got blood on her hands. Frankie of course ends up tearing Liz apart verbally when Frankie informs Liz that Sophie was sent to jail because it wasn't the first time that Sophie had been caught drink driving. Frankie totally humiliates Liz because there's a proper slap in the face. Liz is trying to build some sort of relationship with Sophie, but Soph doesn't want anything to do with Liz for the moment, and Frankie is purposely trying to get in between the both of them at the moment, and Frankie ends up, warning Liz never ever to try that again. It's really horrible seeing Liz and Frankie like this, because Frankie, she'd said in season 2 that Liz used to be like a mum to her, so it is really really sad when we see them acting and fighting like cat and dog. Another solid episode and another solid performance from everyone at Wentworth. It's great to see Fletcher back. It's great to see Kaz's story being brought up a gear. B is looking super badass as top dog, and Joan is definitely on borrowed time. The war is coming. My favourite part of this episode has to be the scene between Will and Kaz on Kaz's doorstep with the baseball bat, and My least favourite moment would have to be the beef between Frankie and Liz. I just want to bash their heads together and sort them out. But now I would like to hear some of your thoughts. We are nearing the halfway mark of season 3 now. Now, what were your predictions at this stage when you were first watching? What were your reactions to Jody telling B and Frankie about Joan? Let me know everything, guys, in the comments box below. Okay then, guys, well, thank you all for watching today's video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Stay safe out there, and I will see you all very, very soon.